My goodness, look who it is. Ryan is back.
I brought a fly with it. Man.
Yeah, there we go.
It is so good to be back. As I just tweeted out, you and I have done thousands of shows together.
Yep.
Actually thousands.
Yep.
And it's been, I don't know, almost 2 months since we last did one. That hasn't happened in 5-6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we haven't done a show for
it
that
hasn't.
long. So that's crazy.
I'm pumped you're back. And Todd, you just brought your A game for Ryan today, huh?
Yeah, I knew Ryan was coming. I had to come suited and booted and ready for the pod for sure.
Man, this is an impressive suit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I actually came from a breakfast business meeting where they had like the president of the Nuggets, the CEO of the Kroenke Group, and Damani Leach kind of speak about football or sports and business. So.
Dang, that's big time. And they had Todd Davis there, is what they would say, yeah?
yeah, I was there.
Can you impart any wisdom on us that you brought from today? This is like when you come home from school and your mom's like, all right, what did you learn today?
Well, from them, I would say that their biggest message is the Rockies are going to get better, and the Broncos are going to turn things around. So.
All right, hey,
which one happens first? Broncos turn things around or Rockies turn things around?
Bro, I had someone tweet at me the stats since the Super Bowl. The Broncos have a worse winning percentage than the Rockies since winning the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that being said, the Broncos will turn it around much faster.
Well, the Rockies only have 2 games left to turn it around this year, and then they have to wait like 6 more months. So the Broncos at least have more opportunity to turn things around.
Yep, for sure.
And speaking of bad records, you know who has the worst record in the 2 worst teams, the teams that have the 2 worst records since 2016?
The Bears and the Broncos.
The Bears and the Broncos. There it is. Yep. Although the Bears have made the playoffs since then, while the Broncos haven't. Broncos, Jets still fighting for that longest playoff drought. But that's what's on tap this week. Bears, Broncos. Are the Broncos going to get their first win of the season? Let's dive into this game. But before we get into the weeds of this game, I was thinking of what this game means. This game is not the most important game of the Broncos season. It really isn't. But could it be one of the most important games for like the future of this team for the next 5-10 years? I don't think it's crazy to say, because if the Broncos lose this game for the first time and as long as I can ever remember, it will be the wake up of you have to rebuild.
To me, I think that's true, but it's also the first time ever since Von Miller that you would be in the conversation during the season of potentially getting the number 1 pick. Like, I guess they were 0-4 first year with Vic, right?
Yep.
Other than that, I can never remember a time where, despite the team being bad, we were talking about, oh, they could actually get the number 1 pick. Like, every time it's been like, yeah, they're bad, but what's the point of even tanking, because the best pick they could get is like 3 or 4.
Right.
You know, if they lose this one, then you're actually thinking to yourself, is this the worst team in football? Do they actually have a chance to get the number 1 overall pick? And we all know what comes with that. It would be a whole new conversation, which is kind of nice in a way, just because we've been having the same conversations, it feels like, for 6 years now. That one, somehow you go to a lower tier of conversation, but it actually might be a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, because I guess once you're down there, the only place you can go is up. So maybe it's a more uplifting conversation. But to me, I feel like right now it is a battle of the 2 worst teams in the NFL at this moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's a battle you cannot lose. First round pick or not, I think just for Sean Payton's first year and what he's trying to build here, I don't care if you have to run trick plays, double reverses on kickoff return. You have to find a way to win this game. This cannot be a game you lose, especially starting off your career here in Denver 0-4. And then you talk about, let's say we get the first overall pick, we can't revamp the whole team.
Nope.
So the rest of the team knows what happens last year, and their mindset is still stuck on this quote unquote losing culture. So you can't just allow that to be your reason for tanking because you may get the overall first pick.
And that actually reminds me of a question I've been wanting to ask you, because when Sean Payton gets here, there's obviously a lot of respect for him in the locker room, right? Like everyone knows who he is, what he's done, where he's come from. But he also probably wouldn't be described as a player's coach. He's strict. He's a hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
Works their tails off.
Does a start like this reset that level of respect in terms of like, hey, maybe he wasn't right about all this stuff, like, and this kind of sucks right now?
Yeah, I think it definitely kind of changes your perspective, because for a lot of guys who haven't played for him before, you see him as this guru that has all this knowledge that's going to immediately give you that bump to take you to the next level. Now when things don't work, now you're looking at, well, does this guy know exactly what he's talking about? When in reality he does, but now you kind of have this doubt kind of creep into the back of your mind, like, is this the right place for me, or are they going to be able to turn things around when? And I think that plays an effect on how people play. If you're thinking that, I think everybody has a level that can bump up the defense or bump up the team. Like Sean Payton adds a bump. Peyton Manning adds a bump. Whether he's playing or not, him on the field adds a bump to the team. Now when your head coach has this doubt that starts to creep into your mind, now that bump is gone and you start playing down a level than playing up.
And that, to me, is why this game is important to win. Because if you lose this one, that doubt creeps in even further.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, you've heard players playing for great coaches be like, man, I feel like they just always press the right buttons. And when that's the case, like you mentioned, you're not thinking about it on the field when the play call comes in. You just go execute. But when you're doubting whether it's Sean Payton or Vance Joseph or whoever, the play call comes in and you're like, really? We're calling this right now? Like, I can remember a few times over the years. Like, I remember Chris Harris Jr. after a game being like, I cannot believe we called that.
I've been the one to make that call in the huddle, and Chris go, what? What did he call? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, we've lost the play before they even lined up. Like, mentally, we're not even there anymore. So,
and then everyone else in the huddle's probably like, wait, what are we doing?
Exactly. And I've had to change plays before, like act like I didn't hear them, just because guys be like, no, we're not running that. I'm like, all right, well, let's run this then.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's what I fear about this game is like the podcaster in me is like, lose. Like, let's start this number one overall pick chase. Like that'll give us something to follow and talk about the whole rest of the season. The, for lack of a better term, ball knower in me is like, oh man, if you lose this one, that the locker room's gonna be a tough place to be. The team isn't gonna believe in Sean Payton. Everyone's gonna start pointing fingers. As hard as you try, when you lose like that and you lose embarrassing games, like last week's one thing, but at least they're a good team.
Right.
You lose to another or a laughing stock in the league, and you're 0-4. That is, a lot of times there's no coming back from that. Now, I think if you were really to actually bottom out and go get that number one pick, well, then hope springs eternal, right? But for the rest of this year, I mean, they have 13 more games after that.
Yeah.
That's scary to me.
And it already kind of feels like a funeral in that Broncos building. At least yesterday, there were a couple of things that made me open my eyes doing conversations and press conferences yesterday. Sean Payton starts off his press conference saying, this week's been a little different. Everyone, including myself, has been getting inundated with text messages from people giving them our support, telling us to hang in there, asking us if there's anything we need. And he says, well, no one died. We just lost a football game poorly. And so it's like, okay, maybe he has the right perspective. But then he goes on, and later in the press conference, he's asked if he's talked to Bill Parcells yet, because Bill Parcells, his mentor, he talks to all the time. And he was asked if he's talked to Bill Parcells since the 50-point loss. And he tells this story, says he hasn't talked to him, and then tells this story about how Bill Parcells had this horse that was in a race this summer, and everyone was watching this race. And I'm like, where the hell is this story going? And it goes to Bill. Everyone knew that when Bill's horse got a lead, he never let it up. and Bill's horse in this big race got the lead, and 5 yards before the finish line, the horse's leg breaks. The jockey gets thrown across the line, finishes first, but the horse and the jockey have to finish first. But the point of this, they had to put the horse down. And the point of the story from Sean was that he waited a while to call Bill. But I'm like, oh my gosh, we're comparing this 50-point loss to like a horse being put down. Plus, you were talking about how everyone's like inundating you with text messages of like support. Wow, I would have never thought we'd be here 0-3 with this type of emotion and feeling around the building.
Also, it just hurts the metaphor even more that it was a horse, like a Bronco.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think of that. Jeez.
Also, really sad. Really
Yes,
sad.
it is really sad.
And this is a total side point. I feel like Henry right now. But I did some research about this last night because I had heard like a rumor or a myth that the only reason they put the horse down is because it's like too expensive to do. And I was like, that's messed up. And so then I looked it up.
Messed up.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
It sounds like the complications of like a leg breaking for a horse is just like way different than a human, and it can like pretty much never heal.
Jeez, I guess that's better.
It's a little
more humane,
yes,
I guess.
yes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow. We just went down a dark hole.
I know.
But Sean took us there.
And that's why I started researching it last night. He basically said no one died and then told a story about something dying.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
It's just, I can't imagine what he's feeling right now. Because I think Sean Payton is I know Sean Payton is an incredibly confident person.
Absolutely.
And so when he got here, he looked at what he had and said, okay, this isn't he probably said this isn't a championship caliber team, but I can work with this. And 0-3 is one thing, but losing like that just changes your entire perspective on what you have out there. So, man, it's a tough time, and the Bears are in a totally different position. I think the Bears are a lot more desperate because it's like people like Justin Fields who are essentially like fighting for his job,
life.
Fighting for his NFL career, trying to prove that he belongs here. And I tuned into CHGO Bears. They're talking about Caleb Williams too.
Yeah.
So like Chicago, who came into the season really hyped on Justin Fields. And I was talking to someone when we were in Philadelphia. I think it was Ryan Green. And I was like, the Justin Fields hype makes me really uncomfortable. Like, they're way too excited about this. And in the same way that the Broncos season has just got off to the worst possible start, so have they. So, like, it feels to me like their team is more like Eberflus fighting for his job, Justin Fields fighting for his job. They have this, like, desperation. Whereas the Broncos, the conversation we had on the Denver Sports Podcast the other day is like, what is the path out? And no one really knows the answer to that. And it's like it feels worse to me that like one team is desperate, the other team is just like looking around for answers. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and the path for the Broncos, the easiest thing for fans to point to at least is, oh, you tank, you get the number 1 overall pick, you get this generational quarterback who a lot of people are saying is the next Patrick Mahomes, and then boom, there you go. But as we've talked about, Russell Wilson has not been the problem for this team.
Not at all.
The Broncos aren't one quarterback away, and we've had the conversation a lot these past few weeks of we thought it was a quarterback away, then they got Russ. That wasn't fully the case. Then we thought it was a coach away. They got the best possible coach that they could have got this offseason, we thought, and that's clearly not the issue. So, unfortunately, I think we kind of have to put it's one thing away, got to put that to bed a little bit, which is the worst issue. Because, Todd, with your teams, especially after Peyton left, it was like, man, if you guys just get a quarterback, if Trevor Siemian can turn into the next Tom Brady or, be that good of a hit in the 7th round, or if when they bring Joe Flacco in, John Elway wasn't lying, he really is in his prime, or Case Keenum continues that magic that he had in Minnesota, okay, this team's there, at least competing for the playoffs. And obviously that was never the case, but it really did feel like it was just one move away.
We were. Honestly, all we needed was a quarterback. But I think they waited so long that now other things have started falling apart. Things that were sure ups that we knew were going to be there and be great on game day are now kind of falling off. And even some of the decision making, like with defensive coordinators or letting people go, like I just don't understand how you expect to build a winning culture when you have a part that's winning, but you don't keep the part that's winning. They kind of revamped all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like even if we tank for the number 1 overall pick, with Russ not being the problem, maybe we trade that pick away to get more picks. Because I don't know if just bringing Caleb Williams in means that we're gonna win anytime soon. And I feel like 8 out of 10 times the most talked about quarterback in the draft is not the best quarterback in the draft, or makes the most, or wins the most Super Bowls in the draft.
Yeah, I mean that one I don't think you can trade away. I think you have to.
And you take Caleb Williams no matter what.
You have to. I think so. I mean the haul you could get would be remarkable.
Yeah.
It's
It would
probably
be.
like at least 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Maybe 4, including like a swap for like number 10 or something, and then 3 more after this. So like in terms of rebuilding the roster, that might be the move, but imagine if he is the next Patrick Mahomes, how silly you feel.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of those ones where it's like people throw around the term generational prospect, which I hate because that should mean there's only one in a generation. And like we said this about Trevor Lawrence, and we said this about Andrew Luck, and but that's the conversation that he's being thrown into, is like, no matter what, like people, Sean Payton himself on Fox last year said they're going to have to change to a lottery system after this year because teams are going to try to tank so hard for Caleb Williams.
Is that what's happening here? Is Sean doing that?
If you want to be a Sean Payton believer, that's a good place to take yourself. It's like, oh, this is all part of the plan. He's just doing this on purpose.
In this game, if you lose this game, that's when Sean does have to say, internally at least, I don't think he's going to come out to the media and say it, but internally say, okay, yep, this has gone from I'm going to be pissed if we don't make the playoffs to I'm going to be pissed if we don't get the number 1 overall pick. So, George, start dialing up those phones and let's trade a lot of players. But that is if the Broncos lose this game. Let's get into our picks after I tell you about our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. We're Red Hawk Roofing. They have been part of the DNVR family for a long time, which means you can trust them, and they are going to treat you like family, just like everyone in the DNVR fam does. They have quality materials, decades of experience, 24/7 availability, quick response time, and Colorado's best estimators and contractors, and they're huge DNVR supporters. So if you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, they do both. Be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com and tell them that DNVR sent you.
Also, shout out to our friends over at MSU Denver. A few different people here at DNVR have either graduated from MSU Denver or taken classes at MSU Denver. And one thing I got to say is they have done incredible things with that campus. I don't know if you've been over there recently, but they've all new buildings. It's obviously in a great location, like right there in downtown next to Ball Arena. But, man, if you walk around that place, it's actually like a beautiful campus as far as commuter city campuses go. So get over to MSU Denver. Excellence awaits you there. 90-plus majors, or you can even create your own major. Find your future at MSU Denver. Go to msudenver.edu.
All right, before we get into our Broncos picks, let's talk about the other games in the AFC West this week, where there's some fascinating ones. And we start with the Chargers playing the Raiders. And one of the things that Broncos fans have to feel great about is we had Brian Baldinger on yesterday, and he said, I know that the Raiders beat the Broncos in week 1, but the Broncos are a better team than the Raiders. So as bad as it is for us right now, without a win, the Broncos actually could be in a better position because they're in better shape. They're a better team than the Raiders, according to Brian. Yet, if they lose this game, then they're on pace for the number 1 overall pick, whereas the Raiders might be in this no man's land. And on top of that, after Josh McDaniels made the boneheaded's probably the nicest way of putting it, decision to kick the field goal with less than 2 minutes left in the game, and then after the game explaining that they needed 2 possessions, which is just absolutely not true, he is now the front runner to be the first coach in the NFL fired, which not only is that, embarrassing for the Raiders, it's Josh McDaniels, so everyone in Denver likes that.
There was a report last year, though, that the Raiders couldn't afford to fire Josh McDaniels in the first 2 years of his contract.
Yeah.
Also, let me just say this. They cannot fire him.
Why?
Because if he gets fired, he will end his career undefeated as a head coach against the Denver Broncos. And I can't have that. I can't have that.
We need our get back.
Yes, we need at least one more crack at him before he gets fired.
Because this has to be it, right? This has to be his last opportunity to be a head coach.
Oh, yeah. He's not getting another job. So
You never know, man. It's just like those first round picks. Like even
Yeah, it's
Nathaniel
true.
Hackett did a horrible job, and he's just an offensive coordinator. Like 3 more years, 2
Yeah.
good seasons, he'll be right in the running for another head coach.
But that's
like, people
opportunity
forget
number
so quick.
2. You don't get a third chance. You don't get a third chance.
When
With
Todd-
2 disasters on your resume.
When Todd says, though, like first round picks get chance after chance after chance, for some reason, I view Josh McDaniels as kind of that first round pick of coaches because he's got the Bill Belichick Stanford proof, because he's viewed as this offensive genius. If he goes back to New England and makes Mac Jones work for 10 more years,
Yeah.
he could become the Patriots' next head coach after that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the first coach to have a couple terrible tries at head coach to get another one. Yeah, I can see it working out. I see it all the time. I feel like the hardest thing to do in the NFL is to get in the coaching fraternity. But once you're in, you just kind of like circulate. You do bad, you go back down, you circulate, then you get another opportunity. Somebody will hire him. Bill Belichick will hire him and then make him his next in line after he decides to retire. Something will happen.
Oh, God. That would blow my mind. I wonder if there has been someone before that's been fired from 2 places with a losing record in both. And his record would be really bad.
It would be.
And got a 3rd job.
Man, I mean, I see your point, though. Absolutely. It's that bad. Today, there's reports coming out of Javonte Adams, one of the most likely people to be traded at the trade deadline, when the Raiders last year, right, gave up 2 first-round picks for him and then paid him and gave him the signing bonus and all that. They take dead cap on. I mean, what a disaster they're going through right now. And they're playing a team with the same record as them at 1-2 with the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean that's the most Chargers thing ever. Like Justin Herbert might be playing like the best quarterback in football right now, and they're 1-2.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And Mike Williams is now out for the season. I think Derwin James is a little bit questionable. Austin Eckler missed the past 2 games. He's finally back at practice right now. But I mean, I thought eventually the Chargers were going to charge her at some point in the season. I didn't think it was going to be week 1, but that's the Chargers.
Yep,
That's
it
who
is.
they are.
And the Raiders, like, what's crazy about the Chargers is like it feels like they are always almost there and they just never get across the line. The Raiders, like, somehow everything goes as wrong as it can possibly go for them.
Yeah.
Like Davante Adams, they end up having to trade. They brought him in because of Derek Carr. Derek Carr forces his way out, goes to another place. Henry Ruggs situation, obviously. Now
All
you
of
have
their
the Chandler
first-round
Jones
picks.
situation,
Oh, boy.
which
Yeah.
just praying that he gets the help he needs and can get back on track. But like, it is just crazy. They had the other first round pick who was like flashing guns on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what? Things couldn't go possibly worse for them. Like every time, it's like worst case scenario for them.
Without a doubt. I feel like ever since, really, as far as I can think back, it's like the Khalil Mack trade. I feel like after that, it just all went downhill from there. Like, you trade him, then you say you don't have any pass rush, but you just traded the best pass rusher in the league at the time. They make some boneheaded decisions, man, but hopefully they make enough. With all those decisions, we still haven't beaten them in the last 7 times we played them. How?
I know, 7 straight losses, 5 straight to Josh McDaniels. As much turmoil as they've been in, it's what, and that's what makes that 1-point loss to the Raiders is that much more sickening.
Yeah, we need to get back at them for
And
sure.
just on that note, somehow it never feels like the Broncos are like that much of a disaster. Like even when they lose it, for some reason they feel like they like have it together as an organization, and that's why that stat about the Rockies like blew my mind. And then someone said, "What if Caleb Williams doesn't want to come to Denver and he goes back to school?" Like, because of what I'm talking about, I don't think that would happen. Like, the Broncos are still viewed, I don't think right at this moment, but on the whole, as like a proud NFL franchise. They have obviously 3 Super Bowls. Sean Payton is the coach. Like, I don't think Caleb Williams would say like, "Nah, I'm not going to Denver. I'm going back to school."
Could
You
you?
might want to go to the Cardinals now.
It's true.
They're picking things up.
He's like, if Josh Dobbs can do that, yeah,
You
what can
know?
I do with them? Although, man, I mean, Jonathan Gannon so far doing a better job than everyone thought, but I'd still be a little skeptical if I was him. But, I mean, the opportunity to get to play with Sean Payton, I mean, come on.
Yeah, their team reminds me of the movie Major League.
Yeah.
You know, where like they're like trying to lose and like the players like band together and they don't want to lose.
Yeah. That was such an impressive win. So, who do we have in this week's game? You guys, you are 3-0 picking against the Chargers. No, I guess you're 2-1 picking against the Chargers. You doing it again?
Unfortunately, I can't do that. I think this is week. Like I picture week 4 being a big correction week in the NFL, where just like finally things go kind of like they should, and so I think the Chargers blow out the Raiders.
Wow. Todd?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers as well. They've been in some close games, and like you said, Justin Herbert's playing at a really high level, and I think he'll continue to. It's just a matter of getting the defense on board with what the offense is doing. So once they figure that out, they'll be a pretty good team. And I'm never going to pick the Raiders if I can, so I'm going to pick the Chargers.
Yeah, and I have to go with the Chargers, too. I think it's going to be a close game. The Chargers should blow them out, but just because they're the Chargers, they're going to make it way too close for comfort. Brandon Staley, man, I think I'm officially out on him, and he's probably going to do something at the end of the game where it makes it way too close, and the Chargers pull this one out. What makes me uncomfortable is Henry is also choosing the Chargers, and Alexis is also choosing the Chargers. When everyone believes in the Chargers is when they charger the most.
Yeah, maybe a Raiders fan will post our graphic on after the game, after they pull off the upset. You want to know, when you sit on this show every day and you have to have takes about things, you're just bound to have bad ones eventually. Mm-hmm. Remember last year when I said that the AFC West might be the best division in football history?
Yep, how about that?
Look at it now, dude.
Yeah.
We're a year away from that.
Yeah.
There's the Chiefs might win the division by more than anyone else in football this year.
Yeah, it's so true. You have one winning team in the division that was supposed to be the best, and now what? 2 teams are in disaster right now with the Raiders and the Broncos, and the Chargers have still not put it together for like a 3rd year straight.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to this Chiefs game. This is almost a 10-point spread favoring the Chiefs. The Jets are playing the Chiefs. It's actually in New York, and Taylor Swift is going to be at this game. That's going to be that. This might break records for the number of people tuning into a game because it's Sunday Night Football in New York with Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this is Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes game.
Did you see the numbers from last week?
It was
23 million viewers.
Yep.
Tuned in to watch the Chiefs win by like 40.
It was the 2nd worst game in the NFL, only to the Broncos Dolphins, and it had the most views by far.
That's wild to me. Like, the numbers for the Buffs have been crazy. It was like 11 million.
Wow.
Last week.
Wow.
So double that tuned in, and we're to assume 2/3 of that audience just tuned in to see Taylor Swift on TV.
Yeah.
See her in a box.
That's crazy.
Yes.
She's a big. I mean, that Taylor Swift bump, that fan base. What do they call them, Swifties?
Yep.
They're no joke, man. We got to have like Sierra perform at every halftime for the Broncos to get that kind of viewership. Like, that's crazy.
It's remarkable. And what I just can't get over is the idea of like tuning in, not caring about football, just wanting to see Taylor Swift on, like, she's everywhere. You could like see her social media, but like just seeing her on TV is worth it for them, which is like credit to them. Crazy fan base. I'm predicting Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift during the Chiefs bye week coming to Folsom Field. That's what I'm calling.
Wow, that's it?
Yep.
Dang, that would do some numbers. You see who's coming to Boulder this week? Obviously, you probably do the list of celebrities.
Yeah.
The biggest I saw was LeBron.
Yeah, and the one, this might be like breaking news. I don't want it to be breaking news because I'm not 100% confident, but the one that I haven't seen anyone say that I have heard is a possibility is Tom Brady.
Wow, that would be big.
Yep.
Well, and he's close with the Sanders.
Yeah.
So that would make a lot of sense. Would he be the biggest? Is he bigger than LeBron?
No,
I don't think so.
LeBron's bigger.
LeBron's one.
LeBron's worldwide.
Yeah.
They love
But I
him
mean,
all over the world.
that's true.
Tom Brady's worldwide too, but just LeBron's different. He's been the man since he was 18. Like, it's a long run.
I would say Tom Brady is more respected. Like, people say he's arguably the greatest athlete ever, because of all of his championships. Obviously, people also say that about LeBron. Maybe that's close, actually. I was about to say that LeBron has more haters, but I forgot. Tom, at least when Tom was in New England, I think a lot of people cooled off on him once he went to Tampa.
Yeah.
It's close. LeBron's definitely more famous, though.
Yeah.
What about in the United States? Because you're right. Worldwide, it's absolutely LeBron. You think it's still LeBron in the United States?
I think so.
Because he has been the face of the NBA for 20 years, and Tom has been one of the faces. But I would still say when Peyton was playing, he was a lot more marketable than Tom.
Yeah, it would be cooler to me if Tom was there just because LeBron is sending his son to USC. So I assume he's a USC fan.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Whereas
a good
Tom
point.
would for sure be pulling for the Buffs.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Tom, he's done a good job of using social media to make himself seem more likable since he retired.
He has.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yep. Then did you see the clip of him like with Shador?
Yeah.
It was like hilarious.
That was cool.
I was like, wow, I didn't know Tom had this in him.
Okay, so wow, back to the Chiefs and Taylor Swift. The Chiefs are winning this.
Taylor Swift is winning this game.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going to be now? 30 million tune in for this? It's Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football, yeah, 30 mil. I
think
guess.
Like 50 is the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I might be off there, but I think that's.
I think it's 100.
Okay, 100 for the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah. I mean, 50 would be insane. 30 would be insane.
Yep.
I guess the question for this is: does Zach Wilson end the game as the starting quarterback still?
Yeah. Who else do they have?
Well, Trev's on the practice squad.
Okay, yeah, he's
I don't even know who their
soon.
backup quarterback is.
I don't either.
No.
Did you see Trev in that presser?
No. Yesterday?
He's got like a buzz cut. I don't know. He's looking a little rough.
Oh, looking rough. Man, Brian, I asked him, Brian Baldinger yesterday, I asked him about Trev, and man, he did my guy dirty.
Oh,
Just
no.
said how awful he is.
He did.
But
He
he
took a
made, I think
shot.
the point was to say that he's even better than Zach Wilson, just to show how bad Zach Wilson is. But yeah, this is going to be a blowout. We're all picking the Chiefs, if I can speak for you, Todd.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Alexis actually has the Chiefs winning 73-0 in this game to make it the biggest blowout in NFL history and essentially wipe the Broncos' loss last week away. Todd,
It's
yeah,
not
here,
gonna
what'd
be
you
like
get?
that.
The backup for the Jets is Tim Boyle, and a name like that, you'll never go into a game.
Tim Boyle out of. I'm gonna say Purdue.
Oh,
The Boilermakers?
that sounds like it could be right.
I don't think it is. I think he's from like a really small school actually.
He's he transferred to Connecticut. He was in Connecticut.
Okay.
Then he went to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not Eastern Illinois. Sean Payton's pride and joy. Also, there's two.
Tony Romo.
Yep, there's two players with retired numbers out of Eastern Illinois. You know who they are?
Is it Sean Payton and Tony Romo?
Nope. You got one of the two.
Tony Romo.
Okay.
And there's another great quarterback out of there. Was a coach too, right?
I don't know, so it's
Okay.
not him
Oh, okay. Who
because
is
this
it?
guy's not a coach. You got any guesses?
None.
It's Jimmy Garoppolo
Ah.
and Sean Payton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Tony
Yeah.
Romo didn't get it, huh?
I don't think so. No.
Tough scene.
Yet he might be up for the NFL Hall of Fame. It's weird. But Brian, a crazy stat we realized yesterday, or not stat. Sean Payton has the 6th highest odds of being the first coach fired this year.
No.
Yeah, that's what
That's
we
what we
said.
said. There's no way. There's no way.
We said we wish we could bet the opposite, that it wouldn't be.
Every time I say that though, I do realize that the Waltons do have unlimited money. Like if they just decided they didn't like him, they
Right.
could fire him.
Right. Well, didn't they fire Nathaniel Hackett because one, things were going bad, but they fired him specifically after that Rams game because it was embarrassing. A 70-point or a 50-point loss, followed by a loss to the Bears and the Jets, a team that Sean Payton badmouthed. That's as embarrassing as it gets. I still don't think that that's going to happen, but it's just crazy to me that the odds makers are saying, okay, it's 33-1 odds, so still not likely to happen, but in 1 week, he went from 100-1 to 33-1. And you might be able to find these over at Bet365. Now, you're not going to put money on Sean Payton being the first coach fired. Maybe you want to put money on Josh McDaniels being the first coach fired. And the great thing is about Bet365.
I love how I never gave my pick on that, but everyone just knows.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the
You're
Chiefs.
picking the Chiefs, yes. And if you use the code DNVR365, you're going to get $365 in bonus bets when you place a $1 bet. That's all you have to do. $1 bet to get $365 in bonus bets. So if you don't want to lose real money, just place a $1 bet, and then you can get bonus bets to bet with, and that is going to allow you to bet on Josh McDaniels to be fired, for the Broncos to win. And Thursday night's game tonight, who do you guys have? Lions going into Green Bay to play the Packers. I believe Packers are like a 1-point favorite. Or no, Lions are a 1-point favorite.
Yeah, I would take the Lions. I feel like, they've gone against Aaron Rodgers for many years, and this is the first time they have the confidence in the building that they're putting things together, that they can finally take advantage of that division and really put their foot down. So I say that I give it to them to really make a change to their division and their football club.
That's what the Bears thought week 1 before they got blown out by the Packers. I'll take the Lions as well.
Yeah, I'm going Lions too. This is probably a big game for them. If they win this 3-1, top of the division, then it really does feel like Dan Campbell is taking over. They go to 2-2. Maybe they're just the same old Lions. You hear what do you got?
I'm sorry I have to do this to you, Zach. I had to fact check you on that Eastern Illinois thing.
Uh-oh.
It's Tony Romo and Sean Payton.
Oh, well, I think Sean Payton got that wrong, actually, because he was the one to say that in a press conference.
That means I got it right.
That means you did get it right, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was just so
misremembering.
curious. I'm like, why would Jimmy G get it over Tony? And
No, maybe I just misremember it wrong.
no, blame Sean. He's done enough wrong.
You got to throw the challenge flag.
That's true. Where's the challenge flag you hear?
No, you're challenging
Yeah,
Zach.
you're challenging me. Yeah,
And you
that's
won.
a good one. You did win, and if you want to win, go to Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 to get $365 in bonus bets. And you must be 21 or older, eligible in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And I've noticed that this Broncos season has reminded me to keep a drink near me, because no matter how it goes, you definitely need to be drinking some Breckenridge Distillery, specifically the Breckenridge Bourbon, the official bourbon of the Denver Broncos contest, where they have the battle of the blends, the Ed McCaffrey versus the Alfred Williams blend. You can vote for your favorite and win Breckenridge Distillery and Broncos swag. This is how you enter. You got to listen up, because there's a lot of dashes and slashes. BreckenridgeDistillery.com/bourbon-of-Denver-Broncos/. It's a lot, but it's perfectly worth it, because if you win, you can win 2 tickets to the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite for the Broncos versus Chargers game, December 31st, 2023. It's going to be amazing. Go check them out. BreckenridgeDistillery.com/bourbon-of-Denver-Broncos/.
We got to help our friends over at Breck Distillery with a tinyurl.com.
It's true. I have to apologize to Sean Payton. I have to apologize to Tony Romo. I have to apologize to you, Ryan. I just misremembered incorrectly.
Wow, so Sean had it right. I had it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, here had it right. You had it wrong.
It just felt so weird that Jimmy G got it over Tony, and I'm like, why?
Yeah. That it was wrong. And I guess it was actually just a big slight to Jimmy Garoppolo when Sean talked about this, because he was asked about Jimmy G when the Broncos played the Raiders week 1, and he said, well, he went to Eastern Illinois. There's 2 jerseys retired. You know who it is? And everyone was like, you and Jimmy G? And he's like, nope, Tony Romo and me. It was like, wow, okay.
Maybe he had a couple of lattes before he started slinging arrows like that.
Maybe. But speaking of Bet365, let's give out our Bet365 top 5 most winnable games left of the season for the Broncos. I got to go this week at number 1.
Yeah. Easy number 1.
Yeah, easy number. Well,
you could make the case that next week's a home game.
But the Jets defense is legit. The Bears defense is awful.
Okay. I'll ride with that.
So are we going Jets week 2? Home game? Is that, or not week 2? Jets the second? Number 2?
Number 2.
I think it's pretty easily number 2.
Okay.
Things start getting more difficult after that.
I agree there. And one that unfortunately might look a little more difficult now, which I think would have been the easy number 3, probably still number 3, at Houston. CJ Stroud just won AFC Rookie of the Month for September, and he's balling.
Am I crazy, or is that not being talked about enough?
It's not being talked about enough.
What's going on? We love young quarterbacks that are being awesome. Why are we not talking about CJ Stroud? Like, that should be, everyone should be so hype about this.
Because he's in Houston, maybe? I don't know.
And you know what my theory is that the draft heads didn't like him. And so now all of a sudden he's amazing, and everyone's just like, well, hopefully no one notices this. I didn't really like him.
He also went to Ohio State, so eventually the wheels will fall off.
I don't think so, man.
I feel like that would pump him up even more, though, because there's so many Ohio State grads.
Yep. Also, that's one of my least favorite things is like this guy can't be good because he plays a position that a school isn't normally pumping out.
Yep. It's true. Just like, how about Tua? How's he doing?
Yep.
Baller.
Also, like,
Yep.
no one would say that about CU. Like, no one would say like, Shador can't be good because he went to CU and they haven't put out great quarterbacks, because CU hasn't had quarterbacks good enough to get drafted at all.
Right.
So they don't have a bad reputation.
It's true. So we go Raiders?
Yep.
Week 18. I mean, we talk about things falling off the tracks.
That's at Raiders. What about home to Packers?
No.
I think that's on the list, but maybe.
Okay.
5?
Yeah.
I
So wait.
mean,
Yeah, I'll take Raiders.
mean,
Raiders
the
on the road or
Browns
Texans on the road? I think you have to go Raiders.
I think you do too. I think they're going to be falling off. And you play the Texans week 13. If the rookie quarterback's balling out in the first month of the season, probably not a big step back come week 13. Probably only better. So yeah, Raiders. I hate putting that at 3 though, just because they've lost 7 straight.
I feel like the Chargers have to be on this when they come to Denver, because the Broncos are going to be so bad and they're going to charger it against the worst team in the league.
I would love to do that. I just don't think I'm going to get signed off
Yeah,
from
you're
my
not going to
co-host.
get my support for that. Minnesota's winless.
No.
Oh, speaking of something we haven't talked about, at least I
It's
haven't
Sunday
brought
Night
up.
Football.
It's Sunday Night Football for now. That is
okay,
going to
that's
be flexed
flexible.
out, right? I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So
That's sad.
Unless
I
Sean
remember-
Payton talks major shit about the Vikings. And it's
Kevin
just-
O'Connell's probably just like,
Wait, can they flex out Monday Night Football this year?
I don't think so.
I know it was like a thing that they were planning on doing. Okay.
I don't.
Because I was going to say you might lose that Monday Night Football against the Bills,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I remember we used to get flexed into spots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now we're just getting
Yeah.
flexed out. Like people don't want to watch us nationwide anymore.
How crazy is that? Like the thought of being flexed out has never crossed my mind
No.
until this week when I thought of that Minnesota game.
And you can't get flexed out of Monday Night Football now. Flexed in, flexed out.
Wow.
Flex, so you would flex to a Sunday game,
No, the Monday Night Football, like, you can get flexed out of that game.
Yeah, so
now,
then you would go
with
back
the
and then you go
Bills.
back to Sunday. then.
Yep.
But that's going to cause a stir the first time that happens, because people people plan their trips around this. Imagine, forget
that's
the
true.
Broncos. Imagine the team that gets flexed from Sunday to Monday. And like you guys know this from going to the tailgate. Like we have people who come in from like Iceland.
Yeah.
And then they leave on Monday.
Yep.
So imagine they gotta like change their whole trip
true.
around. Like
Well, good news. Truth Bearer in the comment section, if he's bringing the truth here, says Monday Night Football is flexible week 12 to 17.
Okay, that makes sense.
The Bills game is week 10. So if you have a trip planned to Buffalo to see the Broncos, it's not going to be flexed, according to Truth Bearer.
also, if you're planning to go to Buffalo in November,
what are you doing?
rethink it.
Well, you said people coming from Iceland. Maybe that is a nice getaway.
Maybe.
Iceland to Buffalo? Probably the same weather.
You've been to Iceland. I think
Yeah.
I'd rather be there.
I've been to Iceland in November. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as what I would think Buffalo is like. Okay, so for Houston? Or are we scared of CJ Stroud?
No, I think you got to put Houston there because it's the same thing that we're talking about with the Broncos, right? Like, you can get the quarterback, but the rest of the team, you still have to build the rest of the team.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. And then, I mean,
Now I don't think Andrew Beck is running back kickoffs all year long.
That was insane.
That was cool.
Like the moves that he made were crazy.
He was running.
he reached a top speed of 20.5 miles per hour, which is the fastest a fullback has been recorded since like 2016.
Dang.
Yeah. Probably because fullbacks never hit open field like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Jano had a touchdown his first game. He ran like a 30-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Maybe that was would have been 2016.
Yeah. Well, but that was a 1-yard touchdown.
No,
wasn't
no.
it?
I thought he had.
He broke. Did
Yeah.
he break on one?
Oh.
Yeah, I thought he broke. It was like a 30
So then
yard.
his second one was
second
that
one was
1-yard
one, yeah.
dive, because I remember you had the bet with Brandon on it.
Brandon,
Yeah. I remember being in the press box with you when you hit that. Okay, so this final one here. I mean, we got obviously Chiefs, Packers at home. Maybe that is in there.
What about the Browns?
Browns defense is like the best in the NFL right
Yeah.
now. We could go them, but Deshaun Watson also played well last week. Detroit, I think
To
they're
me,
good.
it's-
Patriots at home.
To me, it's Packers at home
I'm fine with that now.
I'm good with that
since
too.
or Chargers at home. Chargers are 1-2. Packers are 2-1.
You said it though about Herbert, and that's what scares me. Broncos have the worst pass defense in the NFL right now.
Also, if the Broncos want to tank, they'll trade Justin Simmons. And a Justin Simmons-less secondary going up against Justin Herbert and the Chargers.
We saw it last week what a Justin Simmons-less secondary is like.
I still can't get over the fact that, and he's a young player, I don't want to pile on him too much, but that DTY let Tyreek Hill behind him on the first series.
Yeah. Like third play of the game.
Yeah. And video comes out today. It's all cute for Dolphins fans and stuff. Tyreek Hill ran the wrong route on that one, and it still turned into a 54-yard touchdown. When
Maybe that's why DTY came down, because he watched the
already
film
knew.
and he was like,
He
oh, I know what route
actually
he's
knew.
running. He knew the route better than Tyreek. By the way, did you see the Broncos fans celebrating with Tyreek?
No.
Was there Broncos fans in that little?
Yeah, we got to formally pull. We have to formally pull a Broncos fans card from them.
Wait. They were celebrating with Tyreek after the touchdown?
So if you remember, Tyreek scores the touchdown, jumps over the fence, and he goes into like kind of, I think it's like one of those little like luxury field suites.
Yeah.
And there's this Broncos fan there, and he just like doesn't know what to do. So then he just like runs up and starts patting Tyreek, and then all of the Dolphins run down and they're jumping up and down, and he's jumping with them.
No.
So he's out.
We got to find out who that is.
Yeah, he's out.
All the girlfriends do great research. Find out who that guy is. We'll know in like 5 minutes.
It's so true.
gotta
Just
go.
put it on TikTok, and the girlfriends of TikTok will do that.
He's probably gonna send us a thank you note for pulling his Broncos card.
That's very true.
The punishment is to keep him a Broncos fan, actually.
Yeah.
Dang.
You have to come to
mean,
every game this year.
Not only is it the wrong team, but it's a former Chief who beat the Broncos, and it's Tyreek Hill too.
I know.
Like an easy dude not to root for
I know. It's
if
just
he's not on your team.
terrible look all around.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we got all of our picks in there. Let's hit some comments on the website before we go any further. Actually, do we have any super chats? We got 2 super chats. Let's hit those really quick. First one coming in from Jay Purrington. It says, love the show, y'all. Question, coming to the Chiefs Homer at the end of October from Virginia and want to stop by the DNVR bar. Will you be there? What's the best time to go, before or after the game?
After.
I think before.
You got to forget the game.
Well, I guess before.
You gotta tell them why. You gotta tell them why.
I was just to say, after the game, you can come up here, you can watch the post-game show, say hi to everyone afterwards.
Okay.
Before the game, we have our countdown show, which does go live from in the bar itself. So I think either one
is good.
Is good.
I'm
when
just
is
saying,
that? That's a 2 p.m. game, I think. Yeah, that'll be a fun game, hopefully.
after you can forget the game if you drink hard enough. That's the thing. So you don't have to remember that loss. You can just like forget about it.
So basically, anytime you show up, no matter what, if you're here and you're at the bar, you're gonna have a good time. If it's before, you get to watch the show before. And if it's after, you get the VIP section up here. You get to see here and his hat, and you get to come and watch the game.
And if you are going to the game and you're not stopping by the bar before, make sure to go to our tailgate. Where a few of us will be there as well. Jake Rogers chimes in and says, my wife and I, Packers fans, are going to the game against Green Bay. I really hope that atmosphere is still there at Mile High. Win or lose, stick with it, just like Miss Peggy.
Is that a Buffs reference?
Oh, probably. Yep,
Okay.
it's got to be.
Crossing my worlds here.
Yeah, seriously. Packers fan, that hopefully will be a good game. I mean, that's sandwiched in between the Chiefs. We said that was one of the most important games of the season heading into the season, was because you have 2 Chiefs games surrounding it.
Yeah. Did you see the petition that a Broncos fan put out to like wear bags on your head at the game?
No.
I just don't know what it accomplishes.
It embarrasses the franchise even
but
more?
Are you trying to get Sean Payton fired? Or are you trying to get
Like brown
Russell-
paper bags?
Yeah.
Like Fairly Odd Parents? What was it? Timmy's friend's dad?
Well, and we had one of our Bears hosts,
Yep.
Greg Braggs, a.k.a. Greg Bags. He put a bag on his head on their post-game show last week. So that's where we're at now. But I was just saying, like, well, what are we petitioning? What are we protesting?
Right.
Them being bad? They
it's not
don't want to be
ownership now.
bad. Yeah.
I mean, GM, I guess?
He's powerless.
Yeah. You know what? I read, and This is why you tune into our show. I read Albert Breer, so a national guy, not calling Albert out, but calling national people out.
Andrew Breer?
Yeah, Andrew Breer. He had an article that dropped yesterday, and he was saying how George Payton's going to have to make the decision on Vance Joseph. George Payton's going to have to make the decision on trading Justin Simmons, Randy Gregory, Garrett Bowles. George Payton's going to have to make all these decisions. I'm like, he thinks he has any power here?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton's the one making all of these decisions.
Let me go spin doctor on you here. Sean Payton told Albert Breer to say that so that when they trade a fan favorite in Justin Simmons, it's on George Payton and not him.
And then they fire George after the season, and they're like, yeah, I didn't do any of that.
Couldn't believe he traded Justin.
Quick question. Would you guys trade Kirk Cousins for Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Do you think the Vikings would?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
I do wonder if the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets.
I mean, actually, no. I don't want either. Just pass.
Yeah, it'd be easier to move on from Kirk Cousins.
But the reason I brought up the bags thing is if they lose this week, the atmosphere in Mile High next week is going to be something we've never seen, I don't think.
And by the way, that game is against Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets. There might be like just disdain from Broncos fans 100% of the game. They won't like it when the Jets are on the field. They won't like it when the Broncos are on the field.
Can you remember a time when you played, Todd, where you were like, damn, the fans like don't feel like they're on our side tonight?
It was a couple boo games with Trevor or Paxton. There was a couple times where I felt like, dang, like, or Garrett Bowles get a holding call and they just boo for like 10 minutes. We're like, come on, guys, like, enough's enough. So probably one of those games where I felt like we had lost them, like they weren't on our side anymore.
How does that impact you? Like, is it one of those things where you're like, oh, like I understand this, like they, they want us to be better, or is it more like, man, screw you guys, like I thought you were here to support us?
I think for a lot of guys, as long as they're not booing you, you're like, man, you ain't listening to them. You know what I'm saying? If they're booing you, then you're like, man, F them. Like,
and for you, it was never really directed at the defense.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, boo.
Remember there was the Drew Lock game where he was like yelling at fans, like going off the field because they were booing him. Was that the Chargers comeback maybe?
Yeah, it might have been.
I don't know if that one was at home, but I just remember.
No, the Chargers comeback was at home.
It was at home?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, like Drew Lock's walking off the field, like pointing at fans.
Yeah, because they were down 21 or something. Yeah.
Next week would be weird. I honestly wouldn't even know what to expect. Like, are they just booing them coming out of the tunnel?
Yeah. I would also think that week wouldn't have that many no-shows that you would expect for an 0-4 team, just because I think people are really interested in the storyline of Nathaniel Hackett being back. Maybe Trevor Simeon's the starting quarterback for that game, and what's gonna go down between Sean and Nathaniel.
Can you imagine Trevor Simeon and Nathaniel Hackett come into Mile High and beat the Broncos?
A 1-3 Trevor Simeon and Nathaniel Hackett.
We've had Case Keenum.
Yep.
Got us.
Yep.
Any other old friends come through? And
Joe.
Oh, I mean Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, of course.
Not exactly an old
Big
friend.
Fangio. I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah,
Oh,
counts.
yeah.
Counts.
To the tune of 50 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would do it.
They tried to put his age up on the scoreboard.
Oh,
Goodness gracious.
man. They did it. Miami did it, didn't they?
they
I don't
did.
think he's 70 yet.
Oh,
Or
he's
no,
not?
Is he 70?
He got to be 70.
He might. Yeah, he might.
He's
be
No
70.
way. I bet you he's like 64.
Actually, I think when he was hired, he was 61.
Wow.
Because
so he
isn't
maybe probably
Sean
is.
59 or something like that?
He's
Yeah.
65.
He's 65. Wow. So they did drop more than his age. Oh, my goodness. And just the sad stat, if people haven't seen it. The Broncos have scored 69 points this season. This whole season, the Dolphins put up 70. Okay, I'm being told we got to move on, and we got to give you our Broncos game picks. But first,
Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, Drew Lock.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Shelby loved that one
Dang.
too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Let's ride after the game. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I love Shelby.
And
He's
before we get to our
hilarious.
Broncos picks, gotta tell you about our friends over at Backus and Shanker. If you need to sue Smash the 2. That's 222-2222. And the great thing about Baxton Shanker is if you are in any sort of accident where you're hurt, you call Baxton Shanker for a free consultation. It's free when they work on your case. You only pay them when they make money for you. So if you need, or if you've been in any sort of accident, whether it's motorcycle, ride share, car accident, pedestrian, truck, make sure to call Baxton Shanker at 222-2222 or visit them at coloradolaw.net.
And shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, where you can take on the sun with gear that is built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm and cold weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that is just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames at extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. If you lose them, if you break them, even in the day you buy them, you will get a new pair, no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase them. If you use the code DNVR, you can get 50% off 2 or more polarized shades. So go check out our friends at ShadyRays.com.
All right, and let's get into our Broncos predictions and parting shots presented by Breckenridge Distillery.
Ooh.
And we've got a lot of Breckenridge Distillery shots on our set right now. And so when you go for the game or you're watching the game, make sure to have Colorado's favorite bourbon whiskey, BreckenridgeDistillery.com. Todd, get us fired up.
I got it. Hey, get it being turned up, TD. Let's go get it being turned up. Oh, my God. But this feel fucking great. This feel fucking great right here, baby. Hey, we got to cross the line. It's time to whoop their ass. It's time to whoop their ass. Let's bring it to these boys now. Let's go, y'all. It's on us. Let's go to one. Let's go to one. Broncos on 3. 1, 2, 3. Broncos.
Oh, it's time to whoop their ass. It's time, baby. And this is how I'm feeling about this game. This game reminds me so much of another game, not that one, but another game that you played in, Todd. It reminds me of this game. You hear? Dial it up.
Uh-oh. Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah, you know
We're gonna
it.
get everybody's best this week. They're going to get our whole team's best, and that starts with me. They're going to get my best this week, and we're going to go out there and we're going to kick their ass. This is the way I'm feeling.
We gonna kick their ass. That's how I'm feeling about this game this week. And what else happened in that game? Because it was a shellacking. We had, Emmanuel Sanders throwing a touchdown.
Yeah.
We had 2 pick sixes. Todd Davis is high-fiving Chris Harris as they're walking into the end zone just like
Why
that.
couldn't Chris hand you the ball, man? Just be a good
man.
teammate.
Well, I had already had my pick 6, so this was his time to shine.
Fair
you
enough.
know?
You should have tackled him and been like,
And this game reminds me so much of that game because, Todd, you guys, you weren't 0-for at that point,
Yeah.
but you weren't a good team. You ended up finishing 6-10. I think at that point in the season, you were 2-4 heading into that game. The Cardinals were 1-5 heading into that game, and that's kind of what it feels like where the Broncos are. The Broncos are bad this year, but they're not as bad as the Bears, right? And if the Broncos are going to beat up on someone, it's not only against a bad Bears team, on the road just like that one too, and it's also coming off an embarrassment. Sean Payton wants to get some momentum back. These players want to get some momentum back. The Broncos beat the Cardinals 45-10.
Yep.
They whooped up on them. That's how I'm feeling about this game. The Broncos are either going to lose or they're going to whoop up on them. And I'm taking the whoop up. Give me 45-10 in this game.
Wow.
I love it. Yes, this is the game. This is the game where they can go and shut all that noise out. That's the great thing about football is that every week you give people something else to talk about. They come out and play great this week. We won't even be talking about Miami anymore. We'll be talking about this week specifically.
Yep.
So, shout out to Josh Rosen for throwing those interceptions to us, that game. He was struggling throwing the ball just like Justin Fields is, so hopefully it results in some turnovers for us. I kind of feel like Bruce Buffer, it's time. It's finally time for the Broncos to put it together. I'm going to say 35-14. Broncos coming away with the win.
I thought I was going to be the only one picking a blowout. I thought I was going to be the only one picking a blowout. Now I feel so uncomfortable with it. I think that this is a correction week in the NFL, like I said. And I think the Broncos aren't actually as bad as they've looked. They're still not great, but they're not as bad as we think. We almost want them to be at this point.
Yeah.
And the Bears are. The Bears actually are that bad. So I'm with you guys. I was going to say 30-10 Broncos. And then after the game, we will be lying to ourselves like Todd was lying to his teammates on that field in Kansas City saying, this feels fucking great.
So what's the score?
As hell. I was
You
ready to
going
go back
30-10?
in.
I knew you were 30-10.
30?
I can't believe we're going to look so dumb after this game.
Oh, I hope not, because Henry's going 33-13.
Oh, no.
Broncos,
Oh,
and
no.
Alexis is going 30
We're
to
so screwed.
13
We're so
Broncos. If the Broncos lose, this is going to be the graphic.
Yeah.
Especially since we have some friends in Chicago that's going to be going around and be getting laughed at.
I am going to clip this part right now of me saying this is a terrible idea and just post it immediately so no one can come after me. We all picked them to blow them out.
All picked them to blow them out. The spread is
That is
3.5,
so
and we
bad.
all said that's not even close to what this game is going to be. But I think there's kind of a reason we're picking them to blow them out. And it's, Todd, it's something you pointed to earlier in the week, especially with how bad the Broncos have been in the second half and just with how dysfunctional, not just bad the Bears are, but dysfunctional. Let's remember, last year on Wednesday, James Palmer did a great job reminding us of this. Justin Fields has a press conference in the morning where he calls out the coaching staff for his poor play. He has to come back in the afternoon and apologize, have an emergency press conference to apologize for that and say that reporters took those words out of his mouth, which was not the case. At that same time, their defensive coordinator resigns for reasons off the field, which really shook the building with reports of like FBI raiding their facility, raiding his house. So just total pandemonium there. The same day, their left tackle, their starting left tackle, is placed on injured reserve. And then that night, $100,000 of equipment is stolen from the Bears from Soldier Field. The thieves just went in, cut a fence, took $100,000. So not only are they over, but they have all these things going wrong. At least the Broncos don't have those problems to deal with. So they have all of that. And the Broncos, if they get a lead, they really should just blow them out. If they don't and it's a close game, you don't want to let the Bears hang in here because the Broncos don't know how to do anything in the second half. And the Bears at home, Justin Fields, if the Broncos have tackling issues, that could lead to a tricky one at the end.
Yeah, the Broncos can win this game in the first quarter. If they come out and play smash mouth football and really put their foot down on the Bears, they'll go away quietly and peacefully. They don't want to play. Like you said, there's a lot of dysfunction in the locker room and in the coaching staff. Just come out firing the first quarter. That first 15 has to be phenomenal. I don't care what you have to do, but put this team away early and you won't have to worry about them.
Man, I'm so scared that we all picked them to win by that much. That's bad. If they lose this, they will have lost the 3 most winnable games on the schedule already.
In the first 4 weeks of the
In the
season.
first 4 weeks of the season.
And the other game?
Because if you
they
look,
lost by
we had,
50.
what did we have second on the list?
To start the
Jets.
season?
Jets.
Oh, yeah.
So if we go back, we probably would have had, well, for sure before Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but we would have had Raiders at home, Commanders at home, and Bears on the road. Probably is the top 3 easiest games. I'm not sure of the order.
Without a doubt.
And then we really can start talking about that number 1 pick.
Yep. Maybe it's a win-win.
But that's why I'm just like, it's not going to happen that way.
It doesn't
The Broncos
feel
are going to
like
look way better this week. Russ has been looking good.
Yep.
It's going to actually come to fruition on the scoreboard this week. I really feel that way. The good thing, I guess, is that even if we do all end up being wrong, we won't be that upset about it.
No,
Or at
it's-
least I won't.
We ride together, we die together.
There we go.
Died together for Caleb Williams, and someone in the comment section said this was presented by Kind Love. Our picks were presented by
There
Kind
we
Love.
go.
If they lose, presented by Kind Love, and this was presented by Parting Shots by Breckenridge Distilling. Before we get out of here, we got one super chat coming in from our friend Dustin. He says, hot damn, Todd Davis looking crispy as hell. Zach's ability to tweet through the 70-20 loss was the most resilient thing I saw on Sunday. Enjoy the Johnny's this
Johnny's beef.
weekend for me, Arcade. Cheers to better days.
I wish I was going to Chicago with you guys to get some Johnny's beef. That's the first. Oh, wait, you guys are going. You're getting in late at night.
Yeah.
You got to find a way. Maybe on your way back to the airport.
Maybe after. Okay.
Because it's
yep.
in between the airport and downtown Chicago.
What is
Between
it?
which airport?
Johnny's Beef. It's a like Italian beef sandwiches. It's so good.
Is it O'Hare? That's where we're flying to.
Is it Eric on the way to O'Hare? Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep that in mind. That is dinner time when we're traveling back that way. All right. Well, thank you all so much for rolling with us today. We'll see. It's going to be fun, maybe, regardless.
Somehow we always find a way
It'll
to
be
have fun.
optimistic, regardless of how it shakes out. And you enjoy your weekend. Go Buffs on Saturday.
Thank you.
That's why
Thank
Ryan's
you.
not going to Chicago. He's got a big game there. And Todd, you'll be rocking and rolling with the pregame show, The Countdown, at 10:15ish. So make sure to stay tuned to DNVR Sports on YouTube for The Countdown with Todd Davis and Alexis Perry. We will see you then, and then we'll see you after the game too.
Great to hang with you guys.
Love it.
Yes, sir.